Hi. As we celebrate our 10-year anniversary this year, we thought it would be interesting for you to hear from some of our founding members how they came up with the germ of an idea and developed it into what you know and enjoy as the range we have today. We hope you enjoy this.
You were the first president. You kind of want to address that first?
Well, here's what I remember. It kind of started with Gateway Pistol Club, and I started shooting with that back in the late 70s under the water tower on 7th Avenue. And then we went up to the police range on North University, and we shot there. And that range was managed by the Fargo Police Department, and they kind of slowly took ownership of it. And then after the planes hit the towers in 9/11, that kind of was the stick that broke the camel's back, and they asked us, to leave. We couldn't use the range anymore. They needed it for training, and they gave us this nice letter of recommendation to go to any other place in Fargo, but there was no place in Fargo to go. There was no other range. So.
And the arrangement was that we could use it as long as the schedule was available. Which,
yeah, but
and we maintained their equipment.
Exactly, and it just kind of fell apart. So,
the equipment did after we left.
Exactly, yeah. So we had a meeting, as I recall, on South University in a pizza parlor.
Happy Joe's.
Happy Joe's. You two were there. You were there. Rob was there. Jim and Kurt were there. Myself, Bill Bracken, John Husey, if I recall, was there. Who am I forgetting? Anybody else there? Was Lauren there? Okay, Lauren was there. Okay.
We're thinking Sean Spears was there.
Sean Spears, I think, was there representing the FMPSA or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. But we just sat down and we said, we have a group together right now. If we have no place to shoot, we're going to disband, and it's going to be the end of it. So that's kind of where it started. And then it went into the next 4 or 5 years. And I think you're right, Jim, it was around 2003 when we had that meeting that night.
Yeah.
And then from that point forward, we struggled along trying to figure out what to do and where to go, and ideas came up, where to build it, how to fund it. At some point, Bill knew Steve Shield. We started talking to him. We decided that we needed to do some kind of a feasibility study to see if this thing would even work, and we ended up hiring this professional fundraiser to do that.
Cordell Stewart?
Huh?
Cordell.
Yeah, right, and did that, and he came back basically and said it can be done. It's going to be some work, but it can be done. And I think we found 30 people or something like that, kind of deep pocket people, and he went and talked to them.
Yep.
And just kind of tried to figure out if this was even feasible, if there was enough. I think we looked at the number of NRA members, the number of gun owners in Fargo, things like that. Tried to figure out just what we're trying to do. My part in it, in a very small part, I was probably the one that kind of finally found this land here. My kind of a distant cousin of mine, his name's David Stedman. David was a former mayor of West Fargo, and I called him and David. I said, we're thinking West Fargo, and we looked at different places. We looked at that church in Fargo. We looked at some land up north.
We looked at
a bunch of different stuff. But anyway, that was kind of an uphill battle. The smaller town seemed to be a better idea. Also, we needed to be in a population center. We wanted to get this Pittman-Robertson funding. And Pittman-Robertson, one of their requirements, it had to be near a population center. So I couldn't give some land out by the farm and do it out there.
Within 3 miles of...
Yeah, and so I got a hold of David. David said, let's just go right to Rich, go sit down and talk with Rich Mattern, with the mayor. And so I think Steve was with me, right? And Steve and we went to Rich Mattern's office, talked to him, kind of, sold him on the idea that this wasn't just going to be a... We kind of pushed the junior programs, the shooting sports type of thing a little bit, and sold him on it. And then he introduced to his city planner and city economic development person. I remember having a meeting over at the here for
kind of on the timeline there.
Yep.
I found the first real meeting notes from December 29th, 2004.
Okay.
And at that time, we had plans.
Oh, that time we had plans already.
Yep.
Okay.
And
okay.
We had actually planned on doing a 2-story building. a rim fire and a
Right,
center fire
right,
separately.
Right,
And in 2005, in February, we formed a steering committee.
okay,
In July of 2005 was when Steve Shield got interested.
okay.
And in 2005, August, Rob had a PowerPoint presentation for use for promotions. And he's the one that, as I recall, coined the name Red River Regional
Okay.
Marksmanship
Yeah, I
Center.
think that's right.
And he just, I don't know where he came up with it, but he also says, oh, I like that, so
Oh.
that stuck.
Yeah,
September of 2005, we started talking site locations, land costs,
Okay.
incorporation requirements. And in December, we actually had a board of directors that was official, where you became president, vice president was Bill Bracken, and secretary treasurer was Lisa.
okay.
So that kind of catches up to where
Okay,
you
yeah,
were-
right,
you were at
yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah. So, but anyway, I guess that's kind of how it went,
We got a series of locations that would work, and then
Yeah.
we took them to Rick Ingebrigtsen for his thoughts.
right, yep, yep.
And like where the Harley Davidson is, he had reasons he didn't like that.
Right, right.
And then over
right.
here where the kennels and the bag place.
Yeah,
on
yep,
12th.
but there was some reason for that.
They
And this
were-
was
they
in
were-
this TIF district,
Yeah,
so-
they were about to upgrade the road, and that would be
Right.
additional taxes.
Right, but the thing was, the city of West Fargo kind of worked with us.
Yeah.
That was always the key thing here, is that instead of purchasing a piece of land and then fighting the bureaucracy trying to get it zoned, we went to the city and said, where can we build a range in your city? They gave us some options, and then, like you just said, we kind of weeded through them
Yeah.
and ended up here. And then yeah.
We had to ask Fargo that too, and basically.
Oh, yeah, Fargo just, yeah, exactly.
And Rich said that too, he says, you won't get this in Fargo.
Right,
Yeah,
We'll
right.
get the
he's
lead
right.
right there.
And so we did that, and, and I don't really recall, I know Bill got his checkbook, I know he put the down payment on the land, you maybe remember that.
Bill paid for the land.
Bill paid
Bill
for it,
bought the
yeah,
land.
bought the land, okay, yep,
So that it
yep.
wouldn't get away.
And then he went to that NRA meeting, the books are actually in the office.
For the
and came
range
back
development
with those
meeting.
Range development
Yep,
stuff.
him and Dwight
And
Rindall
some of
went to that.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
some of that information went over to Ingebrigtsen when
Right,
it came
right,
to
right.
flushing out the plan that Jim and Bill had
Right,
kind of
right.
designed initially.
Dwight might have been at that first meeting too, at Happy.
He might have, I don't.
I can't remember
He
for
might have,
sure.
yeah, he might have. But he went out to that range, and then I know when the fundraising things started, you're the one that really jumped in, and because we couldn't afford to hire, I forgot his name already, but
Cordell Stewart.
Cordell, yeah. So I think you maybe went out with him some? Yeah,
Yeah, I met with Cordell several times, and we kind of put the list together.
Right,
I think one thing that we are kind of forgetting here is that plan that we had in 2004 for early 2005 came from Steve Shield, effectively. And so we had a meeting
right,
with
that's right.
Steve.
That's right.
And then
And,
Ingebrigtsen got
yep.
involved.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, and it was comical for me
Yeah,
because we had this meeting with
I
Steve.
remember that.
And he lays down this a packet of paper, an Excel spreadsheet. It's single spaced,
Yep.
12-point font, and it's about 1/8 of an inch thick front and back. And he goes, "This is the organizations that we contributed to last year."
Yeah, these are the people asking.
Just so you
for-
understand,
yeah.
this is what we
Ask him
give
for
every
over
year.
$500 or $1,000, if I
Yep.
remember right. Yeah, and it was just exactly.
Yep. And
So what are you gonna do different to raise
Exactly.
money? That's what he said.
So we gave him the plan. He looked at it and he said, basically, "Thank you very much. I'll have my people look at it and I'll get back to you."
Yeah.
And about 2 weeks later, I got a letter, handwritten address from Steve Shield with a check for $25,000.
Yep,
And he said, "Talk to Rick Ingebrigtsen, he'll get you going." And that was really what
Yep.
kicked it off.
yep. And the other thing Steve did is when we first touched base with North Dakota Game and Fish with Terry Steinwan, I remember we met at Shields, and I remember walking around, I don't remember who was there. You were, I don't remember
Carter
who was,
was
I'm
there.
sorry, but I remember walking around Shields with Steve
Carter was there.
and Terry Steinwan, and Steve basically said, you gotta help these guys, and, he kinda opened the door for that too.
Yep.
Yep, so. And then.
Steve also, on our fundraising, he did a match program with us.
Yep.
Yep.
He did. He ran a
Yep.
one-to-one match up to $400,000,
Yep.
I believe it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
He also introduced us to all of the major donors.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the high 5 and 6 figure
Absolutely.
donors. basically came through Steve Shield. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there's 3 people or 4 people in this room that gave pretty significant amounts of money towards it. And their names are in various places across the range, but,
Yeah.
you know, so I don't count you guys because you're
Yeah.
part of the board. So, but yeah, Steve, all the big donors basically came
Right.
from contacts with Steve
Right,
Shield.
right.
So-
Well, and we were also lucky that at the time, the Dakota Marksmanship Foundation was in the process of getting set up, and we could funnel those funds through
Yeah.
that and make it tax deductible, which made it
Yeah.
a lot more attractive to.
And actually, the Dakota Marksmanship, see, at the same time, well, a little before we started working on this one, Minot built a range, they used these Pittman Robertson fund. That's kind of why there was a precedent set before. And then Bismarck Rifle and Pistol, they built their range out there. They got a 16.50 meter indoor range they put up. And that one finished a few years, not too long before this one got
Yeah.
finished. But they were running donations through was it the Dakota Community Foundation?
Yeah.
Is that what it was called? And we realized here with this project, we needed, because people will give, but it's got to be tax deductible. And I remember we had a meeting about making our group here a 501c3, and, you know, we were a little unsure about doing that ourselves. So I know Steve and I went out, talked with Tom Thompson, a couple of them out in Bismarck, and I forget, somebody told me about I think the state of Kansas had a Kansas foundation. And we patterned Dakota after the Kansas one a little
Similar to
bit.
that in Boston also. Massachusetts.
And formed that foundation.
So it didn't hurt that the 2 of you were working with that at the time that we were working
No,
with this.
it probably didn't. And it didn't hurt that, it was rather convenient. And Tom Thompson knew the lawyer out there, so he did all this stuff gratis for us.
The thing is,
So, you know, so, yeah.
the Dakota Marksmanship Foundation came about because of North Dakota Shooting Sports Association, and you got you and me that were board members there that were working on getting that going.
So anyway, so that was a key thing too. We wouldn't have been able to take in money without being tax deductible.
I want to jump back a little bit
Yeah.
here. When we went to Bismarck to talk to Game and Fish
Okay.
and told them what our situation was, where we had lost the range and the hours that we were going to get were terrible, and we weren't going to get enough hours to have the junior programs, and Terry Steinwan and Carter, what was his first name?
Jim.
Jimmy Carter.
Jim
Yeah.
Carter. Jim Carter, guy, heavy set fellow. Yeah, well, you were saying Carter. That's right.
Yeah, they said, it just isn't going to work. Let's build a new range. We're going to help you.
Yeah, and they dedicated basically, what, like a year and a half's worth of the Pittman Robertson
The entire
additional.
state's
The
Pittman
entire
Robertson
state's
money came to this range.
project. I mean, they
Yeah, they really
stood behind it. I mean, this was a much bigger project than like Minot's and, you know.
Bismarck's even.
And even Bismarck.
But
Bismarck
Terry
got
was a big
theirs.
supporter of this
yeah,
project.
Yeah, very much. Bismarck had a donor that really gave them the lion's share. They call it the Johnson Family Marksmanship Center. Johnson, that family's in broadcasting and stuff, but they gave a big thing with that. The Minot range, that was back a few years, not quite as what we have here. And that one was about, if I recall, $450,000 what that one cost. So this one was more expensive than the rest of
their own
them.
funds, though.
What's that?
Minot pretty much used a lot of their own.
Yeah, Minot had a lot of money. They had an
Minot.
existing outdoor range, a lot of membership, things like that. So.
We were talking about Bill buying the land. He purchased the land in November of 2006
Okay.
in the timeline.
Okay. I remember going down to the title company with him
I
downtown.
found this interesting. In January 2007 meeting, we talked about the rules and regulations. We also talked about proximity cards, which just became,
Oh, yeah.
just came
Yeah.
into use now, so.
Didn't we have a fellow,
We also,
and I've not seen his name here, but we should, he worked for Microsoft, and he did
Kevin
like a
Majorian?
business.
Kevin Majorian.
Kevin Majorian, there you go, yeah.
Kevin and I did the business plan.
Okay, that's what I wanted to allude to. Yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So Kevin Majorian is, and I don't know if he's around anymore.
Oh, he's still around. Yeah, I
Still
see him every now and then.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
yeah, it was about that same time in early 2007, we started talking about the rifle range.
right.
And we were at that time just talking about a 4-foot culvert, you know, you'd stand up and.
Right.
I'm kind of glad we didn't. end
I'm
up
glad we
doing
didn't do that. I'm glad we didn't do that. Yeah.
Do it right the first time.
Do it right the first time. And you know, I don't know. We worked with Rick Ingebrigtsen and Steve, you know, I don't know. I guess, I don't know, maybe somebody else wants to comment about it. I mean, and then we kind of migrated over, we went away from Ingebrigtsen.
Yeah, we went to.
We went to an engineer rather than an architect.
Than an architect, because it was getting just kind of high priced.
Architects want to make pretty buildings.
Yeah.
And we wanted form over pretty.
Yeah.
Or function over pretty.
Right.
And we cut 6 figures out.
Yes.
By eliminating some of the architectural.
Yeah, we
elements.
value engineered the project after the first bids came in because they were way too.
Yeah,
We just
the
waited
first
around.
bids were in January of 2008,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and they all came in.
I've got a
way
PowerPoint when
high.
I go around to the coach schools and stuff. A lot of people ask about building, and I've got a PowerPoint that I put together a long time ago. But one of the slides is of one of Ingebrigtsen's elevations of, and the thing looks like a church. It's got a, remember that one?
Yeah, this
All of
is
this
a.
building.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and I mean, that was kind of what we did, and I know we wanted to have the various clubs and stuff, you know, do it. We realized we had to have the open shooting part of it to pay for it, and we wanted to keep, I remember one of Bill's big things was we wanted to try to keep it cheap. You know, many of these ranges charge even today way more than we do. He wanted to make it affordable for people, is one of the things he wanted to do.
Well, we
So,
wanted to
you
also
know,
promote with the kids.
and promote a lot with
Because
the
we need
kids.
to bring the younger
Yeah,
generation
yeah.
up in the shooting sports, and if we
Right,
don't do that,
right.
it won't
And also
matter.
in
Anyway.
2008, the upkick in information or
Right.
interest when the Moorhead Rod and Gun had to shut
Yeah,
down.
absolutely, yep, that's another one.
That got a lot
Yep,
more people
yep,
said we
yep.
need to get a range.
Absolutely. And Steve and I, with our stuff with USA Shooting, we've had opportunity to go to a lot of different ranges and talk to them. I remember like, you know, H&H in Oklahoma City and, you know, and different ones around, so, you know. But, you know, after a lot of that, I guess, I defer to some of the others here. You did an awful lot of work with fundraising and all of that, and, you know, and
The logo that we use, I went to one of my customers and that's where we got that.
that's where I remember that, yeah. When you say
I
that.
forgot about that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that, but yeah, absolutely.
Everybody kind of said, why isn't it just a Target? And we said, well, because if the kids want to wear a t-shirt to school, we have to be.
Yeah, I remember that,
Correct, and not get the
yeah.
kids
Yeah,
in
that's
trouble,
right,
so.
yeah.
That's what I told him, that's what we wanted, and you have to
Yeah.
have those guys work on it, and
Yeah,
I said, well, we gotta have something that's school-friendly.
right, yeah. They're trying to be politically correct way back then. Go.
Yeah, I was in February of 2009 at Pittman Robertson, gave us 440,000.
Yep, yep,
And a possible 80,000 later came.
yep. Yep, I remember you had to have the 4 Ls, the land, the labor, the
Yeah.
location.
And that's when you
and-
decided to bug out as president.
What's that?
in
And
2000
that's when I said, this
Yeah.
is enough for me, and I bugged you in, if I
Yeah,
remember it.
yeah, so then I was president, Bill
Boy,
Brack
was
was
that good
VP,
feeling.
Lisa was secretary, and Alan Rush was treasurer.
I also remember very vividly going, and he's not here to defend himself, so I can talk about it. At Wendy's, I got Lavoy, and I sat Lavoy, and
Yeah.
I've known Lavoy my whole life, and I said,
Lavoy
Lavoy, I
was-
said, you need to get involved in all this.
He wasn't feeling very good, so.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but I remember that, yeah, I got Lavoy in, and that
Yeah, I'm
got
glad
me
we
more
picked that guy up.
attention, so.
He's been a farmer engineering like you.
Oh,
guys
yeah,
have.
so. yeah.
And I don't remember how long Alan was in that treasurer position.
Not very long, I don't
Not very
think, no.
long.
Trying to remember
I think
who
he
he is.
moved.
Probably like 6 months.
Yeah, he was pretty short term.
Right.
Who took it over after him? You took it back?
She's been in and out of that box for a while.
Yeah. May 6, 2009 is when we had talked about groundbreaking,
Okay,
and groundbreaking was in June
okay.
of 2009.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I
Alan
remember
got
that
out here
too,
with the
yeah.
golden shovel.
I remember
Yeah.
the other golden shovels, yeah, I remember that.
I wasn't in that part of it.
I remember watching it.
Buildings on schedule September. We did a lot of the work ourselves, all the inside stuff. Northern Plains Steel donated the steel for the backstop, and we built that according to the plans we looked at, says, no, that ain't good, because the uprates are what, every 6 feet?
Yeah. something like
And we, what, we go every 2?
Maybe 3.
that. 3, I think.
Is it 3? I can't remember. I was just back there last week too. I can't remember,
And
but
we did all the painting on the inside.
yeah, built the side.
I got the tile donated and got a tile guy to come in and do the bathroom tiles and stuff like that.
I remember Brent Hansen running a welder a lot back there when that frame for the backstop
Yeah.
went up. Then when it come to shoveling rubber, God, it was sticky in here that day.
Yeah. Well,
I got
that's what
photos
makes
of
it.
Nelson was there and.
I got photos of that, and every person who would show up said, "Yeah, take the shovel like that and throw it all the way up there," and all the rubber would go boop, 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 boop on the thing, and it'd be like 20 feet back farther than where they started.
I remember Mankey was giving me grief because I was starting to get a little tired. He says, "Yeah, you old guys threw my shovel down, did 5 one-arm push-ups," and he goes, "Okay." I'm done. I don't think I could do that anymore.
You
just did it like a year ago.
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
you did, that was
Come in
really
with my little
helpful.
skid steer and push.
Yeah, you had your
stuff.
baby skid
I had
steer
enough-
fit in the door,
I had
right?
enough shoveling.
Yeah.
I have a little bitty skid steer, he just took and pushed the stuff in and it worked really well.
Yeah, we had a lot of publicity and good publicity from WDY particularly.
absolutely.
The forum did a nice job. Westfalen Pioneer, of course. Donor night was set for December 16th, 2009. That's when we brought in all the major donors and had them shoot. Who got the first shot?
Steve Shield.
Steve Sheehan.
No, the
Officially?
Oh, no, the unofficial. Yeah, I think that was you.
Steve
wasn't
Foss,
it?
The backstop will stop a 30-06 though.
Oh, yeah.
I know that for a fact.
I think I'll edit that out.
So that one hole in the back wall.
Well, actually, I think the way we talked to the rubber people, it would actually stop at 50, wouldn't it?
It'll stop anything,
Yeah.
that rubber.
You just don't want to do a whole bunch
If
of
it
it.
hasn't slipped down and all the other
Yeah.
stuff.
You
so
shoot a
gotta give
450
yourself
in
a
that
little
thing, it ain't going.
Margin.
I know
you
that.
Cushion for.
Not from here, but from mine at home.
Yeah, and I don't know when the actual opening date was. I couldn't find any notes on grand opening. So.
It
Well, we
was-
kind of discussed
It was
that.
like a few days or the weekend before the December gun show. When Van Eyck always had his shows the
Yeah.
first
I was gonna
full
say, it
weekend
was
in December at the Civic.
Well, it had to be
It was
after.
open, no, it was open before that because you guys were set up there and we were handing out flyers and I'd have guys come into my table and I'd say, "Have you been to the indoor range?" "What range?" I said, "This range." "When are they building that?" I said, "It frickin' opened last weekend." "Really? Where do I go?" And they were gone, they were leaving the
I
gun
thought
show,
it
they were
was
going
November
shooting.
that it opened.
I thought
It was
we,
But
December.
Terry, you
I thought
saying
the
that-
donors night preceded the grand opening.
No.
There was,
No?
the forum article says that it opened, was scheduled to open September 24th.
Well, I know we didn't do
What I
that.
had hanging on my wall was a target shot by Steve Shield that said November 9th, 2009.
Okay, so maybe it opened
And it's-
November, so we were open a couple weeks before that gun show.
Yeah, I was told
I
that
thought
his was
early
the first
November was
official shot
about it.
taken on
Yeah.
the range.
So it opened before the donor night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd been open for probably about a month.
Okay. It was a
When we
soft
had
opening.
that
Yeah.
killer thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So November 2009 is what. Yeah, like you said, it just kind of, we didn't have a big to-do when we first started shooting. So.
But yeah, that first gun show that was after the thing was open, God, it was funny, you'd answer their question, they were out of there, they were going shooting.
What else we got here?
Okay, I think we've pretty well hit everything except, were there any problems or hitches along the way?
Next question?
We had lots and lots and lots. I remember James' big question, okay, gut check. I remember you saying that a number of times, this is a gut check vote. Do we go or do we stop? We always
We
just,
had 4 or 5 of those.
yeah, we always, we gotta go, we gotta go. There was times that it was.
I know that we basically in 2004, we incorporated, and the thing was, is we said, we open the doors in 5 years, or we abandoned the project.
And there's even
And we got-
2007 that we were, you know.
We weren't so sure.
Yeah, because of funding, and right after we got the first bids back, and they were hundreds of thousands of
I
dollars.
remember some walking away from some shocking
We
meetings.
went
like,
back to value engineer, we had a hard time getting any of them to bid it, and that's when
Yeah.
I was working with the sheriff's department and knew Tim, and went to Tim and said, hey, you were working for a construction company, you want to bid this, and that's when Tim came on the board, and we got that bid back from his construction company that kind of let us move.
Kevin
forward.
was at BC Electric, and he looked at the electrical bill, and he goes, he
You
said,
don't need all that."
this is pie in the sky, you don't need all this crap.
Yeah.
He said, you can do this for a lot less.
Right,
And they started shaving things out of it.
right. No, it was a struggle, but it was, the other ranges built North Dakota were too.
I mean, there were months when we didn't do anything, you know.
Well, then even
Sit
once we
wait.
started
Nothing
building
to
the
do
things
with
that we
that.
planned on, we talked about hand crank returns for the targets. And I remember Lavoy and I were here one time, and he's got a big pulley up here going up, and everything's twisting back and forth, and he's just shaking his head. Then the next week, he got those little motors,
the
and
motors, yeah.
what did we replace, one
Yeah.
or two of those motors? And he got those motors for like $100 a piece, and we
Yeah, yeah.
I
experimented.
don't even think they were that much. They were
90.
They were out of the surplus center.
Yeah.
It's Lavoy, he's the king of,
I think
he's
those
the
motors
king's
were
crown.
$100 for all of them. I do.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
could
they
be.
But I mean,
That
we,
could be.
we experimented with pulley
Yeah,
size and got the
yeah,
speed down.
yeah.
I can't remember who came up with the para-rope,
Paracord?
paracord.
Yeah, that was some high dollar
I don't
engineering
know.
there.
I don't
But I mean, it doesn't stretch.
How much has been replaced with that?
Yeah, and think of all the
Not
use
very
it's
much, I don't
had.
think.
Yeah.
Think of all the use it's
I mean,
had.
and it's so cheap to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
but I mean, it just keeps
Didn't you
working.
get the target turner thing figured out?
Several times.
You know, that system for
Might need to do it again.
That's kind of a never-ending
If
project.
it's downrange, it's gonna get destroyed.
It
It's
gets
just a matter of
shot.
time.
We got that down there, it still gets shot.
Remember
We're back
everybody
to-
wondering about why are we putting steel plates in the baffles up on top and everything?
Yeah.
Look at it now.
I know, yeah. Yeah.
I was
We
back-
were a bunch of target shooters. Like, why would you need, but we should remember from Gateway, when every year up at the North Range, we replaced all those panels,
We would clean up the range when we quit shooting in the spring.
Yeah.
And then the police would have it all summer, and we'd go back in the fall, and they have tiles in front of their baffles on the ceiling. They wouldn't just,
One straight up.
they wouldn't have just holes
Oh.
in those tiles. When they got the MP5s, they simply cut them in half.
Oh, it was, yeah.
And we'd have to put it all back together.
Remember, we came in one night and the target groups were fairly small, and I remember we said, geez, they're finally getting the act, and somebody else went, no, it's a rifle target.
So that's kind of the quick version of how we got started, and how we got built.
Very
and
fast version, and
You know,
I mean, and the
and-
programs got going, and I
We had
mean,
lots of,
I remember her taking calls at 3 in the morning from IRS trying to get shit straightened out.
3 in the morning.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a phone call and the guy's thinking he's calling somebody out in France, and I'm like, no, this is Lisa with such and such, and he goes, oh, okay, never mind. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what about my application? What about? I think he felt really sorry for me. He says, oh, okay, I'll get that taken care of today, you're
Right,
fine.
Right.
And like within a week, we had paperwork on it. It's like,
Like the DMF, Malcolm Brown volunteered his time out there, and it actually went pretty smoothly.
It took pretty close to a year, though.
It did, but it went pretty
Our
smoothly. I mean, for the
1023.
IRS, that's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through a number of different meetings, I remember, of which 501C to apply for, whether to go for
Yeah.
a 3 or 4. Or,
Yeah.
well, and we've been talking about that just recently. And we went with the C7 in the first place because that's what the IRS guy said, that's what we needed to be, and the
Yeah.
accountant agreed with it, so that's what we filed for.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then
it
they
wasn't
found
right,
out a
yeah.
few years down the road that the C4 was more appropriate, so then you
Right,
guys
right.
switched it over to that.
Yep, yep.
And everybody still thinks we should be a C3, but.
That'd be
Don't think
difficult
we
to do
qualify.
as we're running it. I think you could have a C3 separate
Yeah,
kind of
and
piece.
those are things that are being talked about as
Mhm.
far as how do we go forward
Right.
and keep growing.
So,
So what kind of hours did you have when you first started?
It was pretty varied. You know, when we first started talking about this, it was a Gateway Pistol Club, and we talked about having Monday night as Gateway, Tuesday night as the River Shooters, what do they call them?
FMPSA.
FMPSI.
Wednesday was
And
something else.
we never talked
Convoy
about,
action
Giant
guys.
river
and-
keepers.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
never started talking about open shooting until we finally started doing a business plan, and it says,
Right.
we need till you have more people.
Well,
Yeah.
I know we were open weekends from the beginning.
Yeah, I remember Brent Hansen and I would
Because we
RSO
like
the
had
entire
a set
weekend.
time.
Yeah, we were here.
Every
open up
Sunday morning, 8 to
morning.
10,
Right.
from May to, or September to May, or whatever it was. And we had a lot of people that did that took a schedule, and we just, every week, they did
Yep.
it.
We had
As we
Thursdays,
grew the business, and
I
people
think
were
I
willing
had
to volunteer.
junior air pistol Tuesdays, 4 to 6, and then I went from 6 on at the range
I
here.
remember when we were getting close to opening and all of a sudden we went, oh shit, we need certified range safety officers. And
Details,
I
details.
think I saw that in one of the notes.
did a big classroom there and did what, 20 or 30 of us got our deal so that we'd have range safety officers.
Well, there's a whole lot of people.
Yeah,
a whole
we
lot of
were,
work.
we were still working on the partitions in end of September.
Mhm.
The rubber backstop was done then. Target systems are being planned. So, I mean, we're like 2 months away and we had a lot of work to do those last couple months. But we had our RSOs kind of in place by then.
Did we?
Yeah,
I know it was,
on
it was
November-
getting close when all of a sudden
The
we
the
thought,
November 11th meeting
better arrange
minutes said that we needed to get vests for the RSO. So we knew who'd be in charge. Before we got really formalized, we had a lot of people on the board because every time somebody talked about it, Bill says, okay, you're on the
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
All of a sudden, we had another board member and kind of go, wow.
Yeah, Bill had a non-conventional way of running work.
I think Tim's best quote was, "We go by Bob's rules of order."
Rather than Roberts, yeah, little shortened versions.
Oh, yeah. but-
do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's been a good, like I say, I've talked to a whole lot of folks around the United States working on building a range and, told them kind of how a bunch of people kind of got together and everybody had a talent or something to put in and a whole lot of hard work from a whole lot of
I don't know
people,
how many ranges I called around the United States and asked them about their business plan, and
Right,
without
right.
exception, they said, if you don't have gun sales and gun rentals,
I know.
you will
I
not
know,
make
I
it,
know.
period.
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
I know, I know.
But it's all volunteer work, which,
Well, I know, that's right. And some of the ones that I've been in, the ones that are successful, that's exactly what they have,
Yeah.
Those are all commercial ranges.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to a lot of people in my travels, and I mean, I've shot down in Sioux Falls and Rapid City and Billings and different places, and talked to a lot of people that come through here that travel the country, and they say, this is one of the nicest ranges I've ever been in. It's clean, the air is clean,
people are
you
friendly.
can see,
Yeah.
the place is kept up, and the programming is here, and
Yeah, if you walk in here, you wouldn't realize that this is
No.
a 10-year-old facility.
we've done a lot of good things over the years.
Yeah, absolutely,
And how many places have stuff like this?
yeah.
Well, how many places have rifle, shotgun, pistol all in one facility?
Right.
It's just kind of really.
And I mean, the air gun range here, the lighting in this range is second to none in the country. Fort Benning range, I'm gonna say is close, but I would rather, and national team members that have shot here, they all say the same thing. This range, we did the lights right.
We were fortunate to have a lot of people who were shooting in ranges all over the country when you guys were starting to get this going, and you had good ideas, and you were able to put all that together and put it in play.
I'd say a job well done. Okay, well, I think
else?
we've covered
All right, I'll go back to
everything.
my bookwork.
Any other, yeah, I mean, that's,
Well, thank you. Never done.
Do you have any
this
other
is-
questions?
Thanks for coming, guys. This is interesting.
Thanks for paving the path.
Yeah, the little trip down memory lane.
yeah.